so
Thank
glad
you.
that we can talk. That's great. Well, have been watching some of your videos and reading some of your materials, and I am very impressed by all the things that you
Mm.
have accomplished and that you do for people. It's wonderful. Would like to formally introduce you for our public who don't know who you are. Ania, if I just share your media one sheet. Okay, now let me see. I'm going to share my screen. How do I do this? Okay. Okay, there it is. This is amazing. Okay, let me read some of this. Ania has been practicing, living, and teaching about wellness, stress elimination, burnout prevention, and maximizing potential for more than 20 years. She holds advanced degrees in organization and management, oriental medicine, and coaching certifications related to health, leadership, and change management, and combines those with the study of female sexuality. Her career spans advertising, fashion modeling, Chinese medicine, coaching, teaching, and public speaking. She has lived and worked in 6 different countries on 3 continents. She has developed a way to use fear creatively and to move beyond the cultural constraints of what it means to be a woman in today's society. It's what every woman needs. It's exactly what we all need. So this is where I feel so like honored to have you here today, because after watching just one or two of your little short videos that you give out for free right and left on your page, I learned a few tips. So one of them was on stress, and just simple things that you can do if you are under stress. Now, I'd love to hear about how you got started in trying to help women and people, and how you got started in doing all this, all these wonderful things.
Now, that's kind of a bumpy, winding journey. I grew up in communist Poland in a very strict Catholic household. So I grew up in a culture in which children should be seen but not heard, especially girls, where you had to be nice, keep your mouth shut, always be helpful, be quiet, don't say too much, don't have an opinion, don't have a personality. But if you didn't have a personality, then you were a pushover. If you were always nice, then you were a suck up. And basically, my job was to give, and meet everybody's expectations. And when it came to sexuality, it was such an oppressive culture that mixed what it means to be a woman and to be a sensual and sexual being with so much shame, so much guilt, so much conflicting messages, that as a teenager, I came out hating myself. Like, essentially everything about me was just wrong. And it made for pretty painful 20s. And one time I was on my way to college. I actually fell asleep and didn't go to the lecture when I was supposed to. So I was in a bus, and a woman approached me and she said, "Would you be interested in being a model?" So I was like, what 20-year-old girl doesn't want to be a model? So I was like, sure. And she ended up, she was a designer for the only really big fashion house in Poland. So I started modeling, and it took me to Paris, and it took me and sort of derailed me in a completely different place. But modeling to me was about forcing my very shy and very self-conscious self into a world in which everybody's going to be looking at me, everybody's going to be judging me, and I will have to grow thick skin, and I will have to get myself out from underneath all the crap that the culture put on top of me. So it was actually my first step towards personal development, is to put myself somewhere that was so profoundly uncomfortable that I just had to do it. So
Wow.
this took me around the world. It took me probably, I was modeling for quite a while. And at some point I was like, I can't do this till I'm 50. So I have to do something else. And my dad was sick. He was diagnosed with cancer. and we were kind of grappling at straws where he was really not doing well. So I started diving into the world of integrative medicine. And one time when I was in Japan, I hurt my back. And I called my friend. I was like, well, he said, I can take you to an emergency room. I can take you to an acupuncturist. So I
Oh,
went to an acupuncturist, walked out pain-free, and went, huh. So this started my whole journey towards Chinese medicine that ended me in Chicago. But the personal development, the undoing all the societal conditioning, all these mixed messages of you should be this, but not this, but no, you should be something else, like all this stuff that women have to put up with, that no matter what we do, no matter who we are, we're just simply not enough. And at some point I was like, okay, we need to stop and we need to come back and figure out who we really are when we are not told who we are. So that was sort of a beginning of me embracing this work as a woman, as a traumatized woman. I was for many years in a very abusive relationship, life-threatening abusive relationship. So I have gone through a lot of what many women go through.
yes.
And so a lot of it is just my own personal journey and finding ways to sort of dig myself from underneath it.
Yes.
And at the same time, I was doing a lot of this cognitively for many years, doing a lot of personal development on many different levels. It's not until I dove into healing my sexuality that I started really moving a needle.
Wow. I love this. You know what, your journey sounds so important to the work you're doing now, because if you it's like if you hadn't gone through all that stuff, you wouldn't have been able to be such a blessing to other people today.
You know,
I'm
it's very hard to do when you're traumatized, to sit there and say, well, I'm glad it happened to me because now I can empathize with other people.
Mhm.
And at the same time, there is an opportunity. um, I didn't do it alone. I did not go to therapy because talking about it would just be re-traumatizing.
Right.
But I met with wonderful energy healers, with people who allowed me to actually embody trauma, use somatic therapy, use my body to
Yes.
create enough safety in which it could feel anchored enough that I could actually start processing trauma and see that there was tremendous value to be gained. And I can't, as a healer, as a teacher, I cannot take people where I haven't been before. So now I see a tremendous gift in what happened. I would not wish it on anyone.
Right. Oh, I totally agree. And that is exactly what I feel that I went through, that like with all the things that I was traumatized by myself at the time, I could not have been grateful for them at all. And just think, oh my God, this is terrible. And I wouldn't want to push that, you should be grateful for what happened to you thing on anybody,
Mhm.
because when they're going through it, like you said, until you can find a place of safety where you can release those feelings, where nobody's going to hurt you, and where you feel secure, then like you said, you can get through it, and then they become the energetic, like rocket fuel to help you
Gift,
to
yes.
do something wonderful with.
But I
So
think it's also really important to talk about trauma because women often think that either their trauma is there's so much shame that they don't talk, and that's painful. Or also, women think, well, I wasn't raped or I wasn't held at the gunpoint, therefore, I'm not traumatized. But
right.
we're traumatized all the time. Every single time we get a message, you are ugly, you are fat, you are stupid, you are not important,
Mhm.
that's trauma. And it
Yes.
accumulates in these layers of things. And then all of a sudden we forget who we are. That's trauma. We need to talk about it. We need to learn how to create neurological safety and create communities where we can start healing this crap.
Right. And I love, well, the way you're doing it, because it's so practical, it's so logical. So I think people can understand that, oh, this makes sense. This makes sense. I can get I have to get into my body, and you told one of the tips that I can't say it as well as you did in the video, but if anybody wants to know more about how you do what it is you do to help understand how to release the stress, I think you have a great way of doing it, and I loved that. Makes so much sense.
Well, I think in this space, there's a lot of conversation about stress management, and people are told meditate or go do yoga or do this or do that, and for us, it becomes just one of the one more thing on our to-do list.
Yes.
And we often say, well, my stress is constant and it's ongoing. And just one yoga thing is not going to do anything. So I don't know if it would be useful for your audience to actually explain the concept of the differentiating between stress and stressor and what to do to actually interfere with the chronic stress response.
Well,
Would that
I
be
think
helpful?
that's wonderful. If you want to explain it, you can explain it a lot better than me.
Well, I think this is just a conversation that I have with every patient in my clinic. So I think this is warranted to actually talk about it. Is that stress and a stressor are not different, not it's not the same thing. In nature, when animals are stressed and they have some kind of danger signal, they will do one of three things. They will fight, they will run, or they will play dead. If they survive, they very quickly go back to I am safe, which is the parasympathetic response. They go back to grazing, the body heals and repairs, and they go about their business. But we humans don't do that because our stressors are not that straightforward as a lion that's going to either eat us or we run away from it. It's not quite so simple. So our stressors are ongoing. It's COVID, it's kids, it's bills, it's health issues, whatever that may be, that stress is ongoing. So the stress response becomes stuck. We stop completing the stress cycles. So what's really important to know that when we come home and we're stressed and say we have a glass of wine or we eat something or we sit in front of a TV, it's a cognitive distraction that may not want us to, that may allow us not to deal with the stressor, but the body never gets the message. So the body never relaxes, no matter how much of those activities you will do. So what we need to do is we need to complete the stress response by communicating in a body language that you've arrived at safety. So how do you do that? You have the first sympathetic responses of go, fight or run. That may translate into you are angry, you are frustrated, you're pissed off at your kids, your boss said something mean and you're really angry. That's the sympathetic response of fight. The best way to do that is actually do what your body wants to do, which it wants to fight. So it could be a primal scream, it could be punching the pillow, it could be just doing one of these things and just physically saying, a few choice cuss words, just getting this accumulating energy just out of your system. The key to wrapping up the stress response is you want to take the foot off the brake and of the accelerator. Well, that means you don't obsess it, you don't talk about it ad nauseum, you don't call your friends and talk about and just get yourself rolled up. You take the foot off the accelerator and also take the foot off the brake. So don't distract. Allow your body to process and actually do that. When you have a sympathetic response of run, which is like you want to avoid something or it's too much or you feel overwhelmed, usually the physical response, what the body wants to do is run. Movement and physical activity is one of the you can do. So dance, jump, run, go forward until your body goes to a stop. Then there's the third response. You're in a meeting and you cannot fight and you cannot run and you cannot scream, you can punch anybody. So your body goes into freeze mode. That's usually you experience it when it's shut down or you feel depressed or you feel overwhelmed, you don't want to do anything, you're unmotivated. That's more of a freeze response. You're not going to exercise that away. You need to allow your body to rest. When you see animals in nature, they actually stay there quietly until they start shaking to release that accumulated toxic stress. And then they take a big sigh of relief and go on their business. So you have to do the same thing. Lots of self-care here is important. So it can be lots of self-soothing. So it could be a bath, it could be massage, it could be doing your hair, it could be putting your makeup, it could be touch is one of the most wonderful things that signals to the body safety. You will never hug anybody for longer than 20 seconds if you don't feel safe with them. So touch, even if you don't have a partner, touch yourself, put a massage, something. Pleasure. Pleasure is amazing. Sexual pleasure, any kind of pleasure is really amazing. And it may not necessarily mean that you have to stop watching TV or having a glass of wine or a piece of chocolate. You can still do those things, but you want to do them as a way of communicating, I am doing this because I am safe, rather than distracting. So you want to process the emotion, you want to coast to a stop and complete the stress response. What that does is the next day, the COVID, the kids, the boss, all that's still going to be there, but you're going to be starting with a clean slate rather than dragging all the accumulated toxic residue of all the incomplete stress cycles. So you separate stress from a stressor, the body goes into a parasympathetic mode, you rest and digest, heal, repair, regenerative mode. You can reach deep restorative sleep. Now the body heals, repairs, regenerates. Your digestion comes back online. Your reproductive system comes back online. So the body starts functioning normally. No animal, no creature in nature can sustain chronic ongoing levels of stress. When we stress, we're constantly in the breakdown mode.
Wow.
Getting in the habit of daily completing the cycles, it's a complete game changer. I hope that's helpful.
Wow. I love what you're saying because I can see in my own journey how I uh, overcame different stressors and things like that um, through different means, that it is really that you're saying it very accurately. Now, for those of the audience that need a little more understanding of the word uh, parasympathetic, you use that word. What does that mean to
Mhm.
you?
So there are two parts of your nervous system. Sympathetic, it's the same thing as fight and flight. It's how the body adapts to challenges from the environment. In extreme way, was the system that was designed to save your life. So a danger happens, your body activates to get you out of trouble. Parasympathetic is the part of the system that's rest and digest, heal, repair, regenerative mode. When there's peace, when there's nothing going on, all the systems come back online. Just like you cannot go forwards and backwards at the same time, you are either in the sympathetic or you're in a parasympathetic.
Oh,
So
very good.
stress mode is the sympathetic mode.
Yeah.
Parasympathetic is the relaxation and the healing mode. You want to spend as much time in a parasympathetic mode as possible.
Mhm.
One of the easiest gateways to switch between the two is breath. Breath is something free, available at any time. And if you are both in already activation of your stress mode, you can bring yourself back into parasympathetic, or you can, by cultivating diaphragmatic breath all the time, you can actually anchor yourself in the parasympathetic mode.
Wow, that is
Did that explain? Did
wonderful.
I answer the question?
You have answered it perfectly because I believe that people are the biggest thing that I just got out of what you said was that people need to stop ignoring their body signals, because when we
Hmm.
ignore, we think, oh no, 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 if I was in a war or something, I just keep going, because a
Uh-huh.
lot of times we feel like we're in a war, like whether it's well, one of the things that I have been studying a lot about in the past year is Cptsd, which is like complex post-traumatic stress, which is not just like, okay, we heard a big explosion, so now every time we hear a noise, we go, ugh. But
Hmm.
it's a repeated exposure to stress over a long time, and where, like an abusive relationship. Ha ha.
Yeah.
So if
Hmm.
anybody's been through one of those, it's like you're continually assaulted, just like you said,
Hmm.
continually having to fight that. And um, well, when you said the thing about every day, you need to cleanse or get back into the parasympathetic and relaxing
Hmm.
and healing part of you. Um, when I first learned to meditate, when I was like 17 or 18, I remember um, I was trying to do some kind of like thing where like you repeat these Japanese words and they go over and over and over again. But it was like more work, more work, more work, and it wasn't any fun. And so then when I stopped doing it that way, I still had my 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes at night. But when I just went, oh God, please, show me yourself, and then open up and let him in, then the feeling of all of a sudden I saw like it was like a tube, a glass tube that was full of water, but on the top was all this crap. And it was like the water was trying to push up and let the water come out, but this crap kept coming out. But if I let it out, if I showed it to God and went, oh God, look at how horrible all this stuff is inside of me. If I let it out, it was like it evaporated, and it slowly evaporated if I let him see it. And then suddenly there was just nice clear water. But at the next time I had to meditate, there was more stuff to deal with. So I had to keep clearing out the crap every day. And it was just like what you said. We have to do it every day. We have to.
It's something interesting that you just said, that what triggered something in my head is that there is no one size fit all. And that every person needs to find, it's like maybe meditation is great for you and I, but maybe somebody else, meditation is not their thing.
Right.
Don't think that you have to do meditation.
Oh, right.
The idea is here that you want to create as much safety as you possibly can. And how do you create safety? Whatever floats your boat. It's whatever makes you feel safe. And a lot of it is also, don't just think about external stressors. Think about what's going on in your head.
Right.
When we are, as women, conditioned to reject parts of ourselves, as if we were to expected to arrive at some future date all scrubbed up and polished and perfect, and until then we are not good. Even the process of self-improvement and personal development can become a subtle form of self-hatred.
Yes.
I don't like this about myself, so I need to fix it. And in the process of doing that, this part of you that's struggling, that's numb, that maybe you don't like very much, it's there because it protects you. If it numbs, you don't protect something that's crap, you protect something that's valuable. So there's this part of you that protects something precious. So when you reject that part, that's not safe. That you're creating a lion in your mind. So one of an exercise in creating safety is all of you is welcome here. All of you, the blemished part, the bitchy part, the insecure part, the part that doesn't know what to say, the part that it's just like, I don't like this. When you create safety and give this part some compassion, some love and kindness and compassion, that's where you create enough safety that this part can begin to surrender what's underneath that's being protected.
Right. And I'm so grateful that you're saying this, because that's something that I think a lot of ladies are not, they're not at that space yet where they feel safe. And I know that when you said you had an abusive relationship at one time, I did too. And during that time, I was, basically in fight or flight mode all the time. But and that's why I'm so glad to be with my husband right now, because my new husband, my first husband passed away, but my new husband that we've been married for like 7 years, I was thinking that the wonderful thing about him that makes me so happy is that I can be myself around him, and that he loves me for who I am, and I can relax, and I feel so happy that I don't have to hide, and I don't have to pretend. And it's just that same feeling that you said of like being able to be in your parasympathetic thing where you can go, I don't have to run anymore. It's a wonderful, wonderful feeling that oh my gosh, I'd wish it for everyone But
Because so often we go out and we want other people to affirm that we are okay. This is what I hear from women all the time. I want my partner to accept you as accept me as I am.
right,
Well, do you? Do you accept you as you are?
right.
I had a hell of a time, and I'm still working on it. I haven't arrived just yet, but I still have hell of a time accepting the insecure part of me that maybe feels a little self-conscious around somebody who is, I don't know, got a lot of letters behind their name and they're way smarter than I am. And it's
Yeah.
like, I feel intimidated. I feel shy. I feel it's like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, I still have to go back and create some, it's okay. Like, it's
Yeah.
okay. I love you. Yeah, you don't know this, but I love you anyway.
Yeah.
I have to, I have to dig myself from underneath judgments that I have for myself to have enough and create enough safety around this to have the courage to show up this way
Right.
and then be okay with people either accepting me for truly who I am or rejecting me for who I am, at which point they don't belong in my life anyway, because
That's
I'm
right.
faking it. It's like I'm pretending that I'm somebody that I'm not so they can
Yeah.
accept me.
Yeah.
That's not a real relationship because that's not based on foundation of truth. So it
Yeah.
all comes back to safety, safety, safety.
Right.
Foundation, self-love, self-compassion. There's a lot of times that I hear about self-compassion, people say, well, if I'm compassionate about myself, and it's like I'm letting myself off the hook, or
Oh.
I'm going to lose the drive to change.
Mm.
Actually, science completely blew it out of the water. Go look at the Stanford Institute for Compassion.
Yeah.
Compassion is actually the most powerful element that's prerequisite for success. Self-compassion. Not
Wow.
beating yourself up, not the puritanical, I just have to push it harder or I have to
Yes.
suck it up. That actually doesn't work. Science proves it. So don't believe my word, go check it out. But self-compassion is the most powerful thing for transformation and for success.
I believe it. And this is where you bless other women and other people. I don't know if you do you also help men as well?
If there is a stray man here and there, I will not turn them away, but I really am passionate about helping women.
A stray man. I like that. Yeah, they do stray once in a while. Uh, well, that is wonderful. I'm glad because this is like I think we as women are starting to understand ourselves and accept ourselves more and more for who we are and how wonderful we are. Because of all the, I guess because of the years that we weren't allowed to be accepted for who we really are, and we were trying to be held down. Uh,
We still are.
it's true. It is true. A lot of yeah, a lot of the guys still try to do that.
But you know what? Men do. I mean, this is the part of thousands of years of patriarchal society, but I think women do. And that's where I really want to create a lot of work and awareness is that this is so insidious and it became so much part of our nervous system that we as women very often hold each other down. It's like if I get together with women around, very often it's no, I feel fat, I'm tired, my boyfriend's an asshole, there's no good men out there. Like we cut ourselves down a lot.
Mm,
But when a woman comes in and said, I feel amazingly beautiful, I am so incredibly successful, I have great orgasms by myself, like
yes.
we don't celebrate it. Women look at it as like, oh, she's a slut, or oh, she feels she's better than anybody else. I'm not saying everybody, but it's culturally, it's almost like we need to hold ourselves together to feel safe. And if one of us breaks away and becomes sexually empowered or really successful, it makes us feel uncomfortable because by contrast, we recognize our own yearning and our own pain.
Right.
And I want to really invite women to shine and celebrate each other so we can pull each other up
Yes.
to really manifest who we really are and
Oh,
let go of all that crap and conditioning that we've been so steeped in that sometimes we don't even know.
yes. I think that's so wonderful. That is exactly, you said it. I can't say it in any better words. That is beautiful because I mean, it's taken me till this time in my life where I finally feel self-accepting of all my parts of me that well, actually my new husband has had a big part in that, because I feel more relaxed and open with him and more loving and able to I've never enjoyed myself so much and
That's
with
awesome.
anyone. And here
Uh-huh.
I am 72 years old, and I didn't meet him till I was 64, 63 or something. So it
You
is.
need to shout that at the rooftops, because there's so many women I hear. I'm 52. There's so many women I hear that say, "Oh, I'm 40. I'm over 40. Like, I'm not gonna find a really good relationship." Like, we need to just like
Yeah,
stop putting the lid on ourselves and the
yeah.
glass ceilings.
Mhm.
Love is possible. Sex is possible. Orgasms are possible. Like,
It's
it's
true.
all possible, no matter how old you are. So just let go of that.
Well, can I tell you something fun that my husband
Sure.
said to me the other night? You know, we were getting into bed, and I kissed him, you know, and he said, "I never thought I'd be attracted to a 72-year-old woman before." And so he said, "I never imagined that I could get turned on by an old lady." You know?
Well,
He
see,
didn't say the word
because
old lady. He was
that's, I mean, that's
70.
amazing, because a lot of it we attach so much sex appeal to physical appearance and age as a number.
Yeah.
And women are beautiful at any age. You are gorgeous.
Oh,
You
thank
are
you.
gorgeous.
Thank you, and you too. Oh my
And
gosh.
thanks. And sexual energy, it's energy.
Yeah.
It's not, it has nothing to do. I've seen women who are, I've modeled, I've been around the most beautiful people on the planet. And there are women who are, by societal standards, absolutely drop dead gorgeous. They have no sexual energy around them
Mm,
because it's just not in them. They are suppressed. They are self-conscious. They have trauma. It has nothing to do with it. And
yeah.
someone who, by societal standard, it's like, wow, we wouldn't put this person on a front page of a magazine, although you should. Um, that have so much sex appeal and so much magnetism that men just get attracted to them like flies. So
Isn't that
what we need to do is we need to connect to that
yeah.
sexual energy that we have, and
Yeah,
again, let go of this, like, you have to look this way in order
I
to
know.
XYZ, whatever, be
Exactly.
smart or get a job or whatever.
And then we put ourselves in a mental box.
Hmm.
This is so wonderful. Different. Well, you know all about the chakras and stuff, right?
Yes, yes,
Well,
yes, yes.
all the different chakras up the spine are have different. It's a flow of energy, and whenever there's a block in any of those chakras, you're going to have problems. And then, like the lower sexual chakra it's an important part that God created. Why do we think that somehow, it's just like you said, it's that societal conditioning of repression and the patriarchal thing, like, oh no, we don't want our women to enjoy sex, because then they might try to do it with somebody else. Right.
And the women will be powerful. I
Yes.
mean, when a woman is self-expressed, independent, smart, and have an agency over their choices,
Mhm.
they are a powerful force. The
Hmm.
only way to control that force is to make them believe that they don't have it,
Oh my
that they
God.
don't have the power.
So women have been gaslit for centuries, for well, not hundreds of thousands of years, basically.
Yeah. I mean, when we practiced herbal medicine or danced, then we were witches. If we were sexually expressed, then we were whores. When we were smarter than other people, then we were, I don't know, something else that needed to be put down. So I
Yes.
think there is, and I, historically we could dive into history, but that's another conversation of
Right.
how it came about. But I think it's going to take some undoing.
Mhm.
And because of that, because to be a woman, to be an expressed woman wasn't safe, there
Mhm.
is a reason why we carry so much trauma in our bodies, because our bodies, our nervous systems are designed for safety. Our nervous system is not designed for optimal health, for well-being, for thriving, and for happiness. We are
Mhm.
not designed for happiness. We are designed for safety.
And survival.
So
Mhm.
if there is something in our lives and in the lives of our ancestors, because we have now epigenetics, the science of epigenetics shows that we have an accumulated experience, because traumatic experiences change DNA. If they
Right,
change DNA and then you have offspring, you pass on this changed DNA to your offsprings.
right.
So we have an accumulated trauma of centuries. This is
Yes.
not going to be undone in a day. But when we create safety in our system, we allow our DNA to inform so that we can change the story.
Right. And I
So,
love that. That is so wonderful. It what you're saying reminds me of a dream that I had once because I was dreaming that I was coming out of this place where and I don't know if you know much about dream analysis. I have a
I know
lot.
some.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty galactic dreamer myself.
Oh, good. Well, I have lots of experience with dream analysis, and I had this dream where these two ladies were in a kitchen and they were kind of fighting with each other. One saying that, one feeling it was me feeling that I didn't deserve to have what was good in the kitchen behind this big ritzy place, and it's my own fear of that I'm not good enough to deserve anything that it's a long story, but the thing is that in the dream I went, and that was from my childhood, but I
Mhm.
went into this room, which was a schoolroom, and it was from elementary school, like little, like preschool. And I looked, and all these blocks were on the floor, but they were ancient blocks, like they'd been played with for hundreds of years, brown and worn, and they were scattered all over the floor. And I realized the floor represents a foundation. Blocks, and I had just been studying about blocks to our freedom and our happiness and our light and our real self. These blocks have been there for generations. The blocks in me that kept me from feeling deserving, held down. And then when my I remembered my mother telling me that when her father and mother would fight, her mother would end up giving up and becoming the doormat, and he would be the asshole. Now,
Mm.
in his life, she described his upbringing where his mother was the asshole and his father was the doormat. So when he grew up, he didn't want to be the doormat. He became the asshole, you know? So it was a history of
Yeah.
doormat, asshole for centuries. And I had been the doormat in my first marriage. And
Mm.
so here it is, the centuries of DNA, all the things that had been, I was born with that. And finally, I felt like I had to break away. And I'd been doing, since I had that dream last year, I've been working really hard on doing the ancestral clearing, trying to get rid of those old
Mhm.
blocks from the old days.
Mhm.
You're right. It gets stuck in your DNA, but it can change, right? Your DNA
Mhm.
can change, right?
It can. That's the absolutely. Your DNA can change. Your DNA changes in response to the environment.
Oh,
So we have a certain coding in our DNA that expresses proteins that are, needed for whatever it is that our DNA, our cells need to do in the environment. You change the environment, and if the DNA does not have the programming for this new environment, it's going to mutate and it's going to change. We always think of mutation as a bad thing, and it can be. Cancer is a bad mutation. Usually, it responds to a bad environment. It could be environmental toxins. It could be food. It could be toxic emotions. It could be all of that creates a biochemical soup in which the genes bathe, and they may need to change. But there's also the practice of healing and spiritual connections and love and kindness and compassion changes your biochemical soup. So then your genes can express differently as well. So you're not only healing yourself, you're healing generations forward.
wow. Well, I love your great scientific explanations of how you understand things because I've heard that, but you've said it so well. And this is where somebody who needs an expert, or what do you call it? Someone who really knows what they're doing could get in touch with you and find you. Now, when I replay this video and actually post it, I will put your website on there. But can you tell me your website and how people can get in touch with you vocally, personally, if you could
So
express.
my website is selfcarewithania.com. You can reach me by email at ania@selfcarewithania.com. And what I would love to offer your audience is I would love to offer you an introduction and meditation, which is an introduction to safety, to create a safety in the nervous system. Because often we have so much stuff that the questions that come to me is, where do I even begin? So learning how to do that, learning what that means even to create safety in your system, because it's a great word, but what does that actually mean? So guided meditation, something that can walk you through the process. You can try it on. It's not going to be one time. You will probably have to do it over and over again. Kind of get a sample of what that feels like. If you have questions, you can always reach out to me. I have some other freebies on my website that I would love to offer you, and just come and connect and ask questions. Also, I have a free Facebook group, the Care Bar with Ania Grimone on Facebook. It's a private community that's really focused on self-care for women. It's a beautiful, supportive, loving, kind, compassionate, and safe community for women only. So if you'd like that, you can come join me, and we can just continue our dialogue.
Oh, I'm so glad. Well, I'm part of that Facebook group, and that's one of the reasons why I started to understand the depth of what you're doing and how important it is. And it really is a fantastic place where people can share any problem, and you feel so safe and confidential. It's kind of like what they always say about Las Vegas. What happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas.
Exactly. And and the self-care, and I also want to say something. It's like, if all this talk about neurological safety and trauma and all of that freaked you out, we talk a lot about very practical things, how to breathe, how to sleep better, how to eat better, how much water to drink, like very practical sort of body-based things. So self-care is a big, big, big concept. And you care for yourself you're not a body, you have a body. You're physical, emotional, spiritual, intellectual being. You have many layers. Care also encompasses all these layers.
Right.
So we do it all.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, this is
You're welcome.
I think you're such a valuable resource that I want other people to know about you. Now, you're in the Chicago area, but you do things online too, right?
So on my Facebook, obviously teaching programs, everything is virtual. I live in Chicago. I still work as a Chinese medicine doc and acupuncturist herbalist at Northwestern at their integrated medicine department. So I still have a clinical practice in addition to all of this. So I am both scientist and a witch. It's sort of like I can inhabit both worlds, but I'm based in Chicago. Yeah.
Well, that's great. So when you say Oriental medicine, are you an acupuncturist?
Yeah.
Wow. So you know all about the points and all this and that. And
I stick needles in people's butts for a living. So
well, I've been to acupuncture many times and love it myself. It's really wonderful. It does open up, and all of a sudden you feel like this feeling of like, ooh, everything's flowing, and if there's any blockages or anything. So, well,
it's both energetic medicine. It's a real thing. Real things happen when you put acupuncture in. It's just not just energy.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Ania.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you escaped from Poland, or did you escape? Did you have to escape?
No, I got a modeling contract in Paris. So I was totally legit. I went legally. So that was good. Although, that was another interesting thing when I went to Paris, because I was from Poland and because I was a model, I was always assumed to be a hooker.
Oh
I
no.
was assumed to be a prostitute. So it's like that sort of societal conditions, like, oh, you look this way, so you must be this. You look this way,
Yes.
so you might be that. You look this, you must be stupid. You might be. I am by nature somewhat shy and quiet. So I've had reputation for my whole life of being a stuck-up bitch
Oh, because you were
because I'm quiet.
quiet.
So, oh, she's not saying anything. She must be a stuck-up bitch. So it's just this whole like, we really need to do something about this.
Yes. And yet you can't expect everybody to accept you. And that's a big part too in our development, in our self-acceptance, is realizing that if other people don't accept us, that we don't have to work real hard so that they do. We don't have to
Absolutely.
we don't have to think that somehow that means we're not enough, because I know that was, that's something that that a lot of people go through, where they feel like they have to overcompensate to make
Absolutely.
everybody, loves them, and then it's really
Absolutely. I've embraced the stuck-up bitch. I love that. It's a great thing to step into when I don't want to do small talk. It's fabulous.
Ooh, great.
So it's
I like
all
that.
these things that we are, they serve a purpose. So no matter what you think you are and that's wrong,
Mhm.
find some value in it because it showed up in you for a reason. It has something to offer.
That's great. Well, you have grown, and now you help other people to with the insights that you've gotten, and I think that's really awesome. Now,
Thanks for letting me talk to your audience. I feel very, very grateful and very honored. And I'm so excited anytime I can talk to women about it.
it's great, and you're so, like, attractive, your voice is beautiful and everything.
Thank you. And that's my goal for this year is to get on as many stages as possible and ask for introductions and just get in front of women and start having this conversation
Right.
so we can feel safe, so we can feel connected, so we just like we've got each other.
That's great. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
letting me interview you.
Thank you so much. That was really, really enjoyable. And I
Yes,
feel very grateful. Thank you.
thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Bye.